I love small groups, though I have no problem with it just being a few of us because it makes the experience so much more personal. So I'm really looking forward to this, and I hope you all are as well. I'll introduce a little about myself so you know who I am. My name is Maria Barca. I am an anthropologist. That means I study people. In particular, I actually study disease in the past. So I'm really interested in seeing how people in the past got sick and how they got better. I'm also a student working on my master's in library and information science. So I have my anthropology master's and I'm working on my library master's. I really want to be a librarian one day. And I kind of came to realizing this recently. So fun things happening in my life, including this. I reached out to the Sussex County Library System and I submitted a volunteer form because I really want to get library experience. I only have a little bit and I was looking for some more. And I was contacted by our library, by the main branch in particular, and asked if I wanted to do a few classes on different databases that our library provides to us as patrons. And I was happy to oblige. I have a lot of experience making databases and working with them and managing them. And I thought this would be really fun and really interesting. And I get to teach people and I myself get to learn, which I really love. I'm also a university professor. I teach anthropology at Seton Hall. That's where I went as an undergrad. So I really enjoy teaching. It's something that I have a lot of passion for. So I'm really excited to be here today to talk to you guys about Consumer Reports. Consumer Reports is a really fascinating website, a really brilliant service. I don't know if either of you have any experience with Consumer Reports, but hopefully by the end of this little talk I'll be giving, you guys will feel confident and comfortable exploring Consumer Reports for all of your purchasing needs. I didn't know much about it when I was asked to teach a class on it, so I spent the last few months exploring the website, and I have to say it is absolutely brilliant, and I can see myself using it a lot in the future. Also, just a little aside, I do not work for Consumer Reports. I talk very highly of it because I think it's really wonderful, but I am not employed by them or anything. I just think it's a really great website, and I was asked to talk about it. So here we are. So I have a PowerPoint I want to show you guys, something that I just put together to kind of talk to you guys about Consumer Reports. So I'm going to go through this presentation and then I'm going to pull out of the presentation once in a while to go to the website and show you some things directly. And at the end, obviously, I will take any questions you guys might have, and hopefully I can answer them to the best of my ability. So I hope you guys see my screen right now. It should be my PowerPoint. Does everything look okay on your end? Just making sure. Perfect. Okay, so let's get started. This is going to talk a little bit about the history of Consumer Reports, as well as a lot of features that I think are really wonderful, and some extra things to know here and there to sort of inform your experience with it. So the first thing I want to do is talk a little bit about databases. So Consumer Reports is available through the Sussex County Library System, and it's technically considered a database. And I think a lot of people hear database and they get very intimidated. They think, I don't know what a database is. I don't know how to use it, right? You probably think it's full of numbers, and it could be a little intimidating, but fact of the matter is databases are far more commonly used than we anticipate, right? So they sound intimidating or irrelevant for our daily needs and interests, but databases are far more commonly used than we would think. I have two pictures here that seem pretty straightforward in terms of what a database we would anticipate, right? What we would anticipate a database would look like. So these are just pulled from Google. I don't know what these are, but this is probably what people think when they think of database, right? This, I don't know the context for this, but it seems pretty easy to understand. You have names, you have date of births, and it looks like it's probably related to something regarding education because we have a tutor section right here. So you can kind of read this and glean what this little database is about. This one over here is a little bit more complex and probably what most people think of when they think of a database, right? Filled with lots of different terms and numbers and letters. And you look at it and you think, I don't know what this is talking about. Databases are irrelevant to me. But Fact of the matter is we use them all the time, and consumer reports is just one example of a database. So simply, databases are computer-based record-keeping systems. So all that means is it is computer-readable data that are records, right? They're records that are simply kept by a computer. And so this means that data is computer-processed information. And data can come in many shapes and forms. You could have numerical data, textual data, and for our purposes today, consumer data. So data is not meant to be this scary, intimidating thing. So what is consumer reports? Now that we got those two definitions out of the way, right? What exactly is consumer reports? What is it all about? What's the purpose of it? Consumer Reports is a nonprofit organization, which is really important to keep in mind as we go throughout this talk. And in particular, Consumer Reports works with consumers to test the value, quality, and authenticity of different products and services. In particular, they focus on user and consumer transparency. This is really important when we talk about consumer reports. Consumer reports comes from an unbiased perspective in order to give consumers the knowledge, right, and the information that they need to make informed purchases. So with that in mind, let's look a little bit at the history of consumer reports. I always like to put things within the context of where they came from, like their origins. And I think that's really important when we look at consumer reports, especially if you think about the usefulness of a website like that today, where we have access to social media and Google and all of that, right? It kind of makes consumer reports almost seem a little irrelevant, right? Why use consumer reports when I can go to Google? And that's a good question. But for us to understand why consumer reports exist, we have to look at its origins, right? What was happening when consumer reports first came around? Consumer Reports has been around for a while. It was founded in 1936 during a time of little consumer control. Few people had the ability to gauge the credibility of different services and goods. And this was the issue, was an issue for a really long time, even prior to 1936 when Consumer Reports came around. I have this picture right here of snake oil. You might have heard of the term snake oil salesman, right? This is usually a term that's attributed to people who claim that they have a cure-all, right? Something that you can take that will solve all of your problems. And you can see right here, right? This is a guaranteed cure, or so they say, for rheumatism, whether it's acute, chronic, sciatic, neuralgic, or inflammatory. And right here, it even says it cures headache, neuralgia, toothache, backache, swelling, sprain, sore chest, right? Every ailment under the sun, including apparently deafness, right? So this is something that a lot of consumers had to deal with way back when, and even to a degree today, right? You had all of these products on the market, flooding the market, different salespeople claiming all of these things, and consumers not knowing if what they're claiming was true or not. Advertisements were really widespread at the time. In the early 1900s, we see this advertising boom across the United States. Many of these ads were unfair, inaccurate, and unfettered with their products and services. Much like the snake oil we just saw, advertisements would claim that their items can do everything for you. Technology was also really rapidly changing at the time. This was a big issue for a lot of people because while technology was evolving, it was hard for your average consumer to gauge if this technology was legitimate or not. So we would have developments in certain industries and other people taking advantage of these developments to claim they were also creating these amazing inventions that weren't legitimate. And few regulations existed to keep advertisers, products, and services in line. We have a lot more regulations in place today to keep consumers safe, but back then, there were very few regulations that actually helped consumers. People were allowed to go out, claim that their products would cure any problem that you had, and people would fall for it and buy these products. They would be duped, and sometimes they would face the consequences of it. So, I also have this really nice little ad right here that I found. I was so happy when I found this. And this was back when Consumer Reports was called Consumers Union Reports. And this is just a way for you to sign up, right, for their magazine at the time. And it says right here, Consumers Union Reports gives you the answers to these questions. It tells you what kind of toys contain lead and are dangerous for children to handle, how to get the best toilet soap for the least money. It contains a physician's report on Alka-Seltzer. It analyzes many other products. It also reports on the labor conditions under which many consumers' products are made. So this was a primary tenet of Consumer Reports way back in the day when it first came around, right? And this is what we see Consumer Reports still doing today. It's a way for consumers to be as informed as possible on the products and services they're interested in purchasing. I wanted to include these little images here because I think this is fascinating, and I think it's a great way to put in context the many issues that consumers faced back when consumer reports first emerged. Radium is a radioactive substance, and it is extremely dangerous to be around. It's not something that you can just handle willy-nilly without any sort of protective gear. And unfortunately, during the time and right before Consumer Reports was founded, radium was found in everything. Radium was found in water, it was found in toothpaste, it was found in chocolate, right? It was found in so many normal products that people would consume every day. And so you have some pictures here. You have radium water, you have radioactive cream. This is a heating pad, right? These are things that people would be exposed to every day that contained radium, and radium is really, really deadly. And so I show you these images to show you what consumers had to deal with back in the late 1800s and early 1900s, the things that consumers were facing that prompted Consumer Reports to exist in the first place. And if you're interested in this topic, because I love giving book recommendations, there's a book called Radium Girls that actually focuses on this exact topic. And it focuses on women in New Jersey, as well as a couple other states. These were young women who were tasked with painting faces on wristwatches for soldiers during World War I. And they painted these faces using radium paint. Again, radium was everywhere. And even during this time, certain people knew it was dangerous, but the general consumer was not informed about this. So we have the history out of the way, which again, I always like to put things within their historical context. Let's now talk about how exactly Consumer Reports works. Consumer Reports has many facilities across the United States where products and services are tested, about 63 labs, and they hire over 130 researchers, engineers, and test experts. But Consumer Reports doesn't just rely on their own facilities and their own employees. They also rely on user testimony, investigative journalists, and data from the government, from academia, and from different industries. So they want to compile a lot of data from the people they hire to the average consumer who buys a product and wants to give Consumer Reports their opinion on it. Of course, they also rely on investigative journalists, the people who look into these products to see how useful they are, to uncover maybe something nefarious going on with them in terms of labor rights, for example. And then they pull data from the government, from academia, and from these industries themselves. So they're getting a lot of information from a lot of different places, which is always ideal. Let's look at some of the breakdown and how Consumer Reports actually breaks their data. Consumer Reports will purchase and test thousands of products and services yearly, and this allows them to generate their own reviews and ratings based on their own testing protocol, conduct investigative journalism, and advocate for marketplace practices that help the consumer. So Consumer Reports is going in there directly, getting their hands dirty, testing these products out themselves. But before anything is purchased, Consumer Reports has to conduct research on the products and services of interest, right? There's no reason to go out and buy a product or service that they know is going to have a really, really niche market, right? That this product or service knows they're only going to be paying, attracting attention from a very small amount of people, right? They're going to be much more interested in, let's say, a car that's being manufactured that's attracting a lot of buzz, right? So they're going to have to decide, okay, well, what are we going to want to test versus what do we think we can ignore? So this allows them to gather data on the products and services of interest, as well as understand consumer demand and determine what people care about. They have limited time and resources, so they have to pick and choose to an extent. And then testing protocols are created, right? Once they figure out, all right, these are the things we want to test, they have the people who work for them, their engineers, create protocols to actually engage in these tests. And then secret shoppers come in. This, I think, is so fascinating. These are people who are selected to purchase products, and these products are used as test samples for consumer reports. Now, all the products that are purchased at the full retail price, and no sample products are taken. Consumer Reports also stresses that they purchase from different stores all across the country, because the way a product works in one climate might be a bit different than how a product works in another climate. So they make sure they're really, really diverse in where their products are purchased from. It's also important to keep in mind that, again, these are not sample products or test products that the company might give Consumer Reports. These are products that are purchased at full price in your local Walmart or Target or Home Depot. And again, they're done by secret shoppers. If you've ever gone to the doctor, for example, and they give you a sample of a medication, right? Those are medications that are explicitly given to the doctor by the pharmaceutical company, right? They are meant to be used as samples. And in some ways, in certain instances,
Okay, at least they warned.
I'll pause for a quick second just to make sure we're good. Great. So, and in many ways, sometimes when a sample is given, regardless of the industry, right, that can incentivize the person to speak highly of the sample, right? In the case of Consumer Reports, there's no samples and no test products handed out by the industry to Consumer Reports. So this allows for an unbiased testing process, no bribes necessary. Now, how are these products paid for, right? Consumer Reports, I said earlier, is a nonprofit, so they don't make any money. So where is this money coming from? Consumer Reports also does not accept advertisements, and we'll get back to that in a little bit. So all of the products and services that are purchased for the point of testing are actually purchased with donations that are sent by members and those who support Consumer Reports' mission. Again, really emphasizing that Consumer Reports is not biased in their approach. Testing and product standards are developed by Consumer Reports' engineers, as well as the government and the industry. So you have Consumer Reports as a separate entity with their own engineers creating their own testing standards and protocols, and they'll also see what the government and what the industry are doing and use an assortment of different standards. But what's really impressive about Consumer Reports, and this quote comes from their website, they say, sometimes our test methods become part of an industry standards, and sometimes individual companies will work to improve their own competitive advantage by meeting our testing standards for everyday use cases in their own quality assurance departments. In other words, sometimes what Consumer Reports does is so cutting edge and impressive, they establish such a good protocol that the industry will look at what they do and adopt what Consumer Reports is doing. But Consumer Reports doesn't just rely on what happens within their four walls, right? Product ratings are generated through their own lab testing and product performance, as well as owner satisfaction surveys. And these surveys rely on real-world experience with products and services. And so Consumer Reports is basically combining these surveys of real world people buying these products who want to tell Consumer Reports what they think with lab performance testing to give consumers the most complete information on what they can expect from each product. So what do these surveys entail? They will ask a consumer how long a product was owned for, how often the product was used, if the product has broken or stopped working, if there's any problems with the product, and if the consumer would recommend the product, with a real emphasis on having the consumer explain what they like and do not like about the product in their own words. So Consumer Reports is really interested in hearing what the average consumer has to say. About 3 million people annually participate in these surveys, and it covers about 40 different product categories. And Consumer Reports hires expert methodologists and data analysts to go through these survey results to allow them to calculate reliability, and owner satisfaction. And as they note, our surveys are a powerful and unique tool, enabling us to gather data from a large enough sample of consumers to be able to rate specific brands across a large number of product categories. So, with all of that in mind, you might be thinking, right, why does Consumer Reports exist or still exist today, right? We're in the 21st century, we're in 2021. You could easily say, well, on social media, right, transparency is very, very easy. All you have to do is have one person buy a product, they hate the product, right? They go on Facebook, they make a post about it, and next thing you know, thousands of people know this person's feeling on a product. You could also say, well, can't I just go to Google and look up if a product is worth it or not? And the answer is, of course, yes. But what's important to keep in mind is Consumer Reports is a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization. This allows them to be unbiased in their testing and reviewing of their products and their services. Something important to keep in mind, if you ever Google, for example, a washing machine, let's say you need to get a new washing machine, and you Google top washing machines of 2021, and you get a website from some sort of tech company that lists the washing machines they would recommend. It's not impossible for that website to maybe be advertised on by a washing machine company, right? And so if they're receiving advertising money from a company that makes washing machines, they may then be incentivized to speak highly about that company's washing machines. That means that that list you're reading could be biased and inclined towards a certain company. That's not the case on Consumer Reports. So Consumer Reports is unbiased in their approach. And like I just said, right, they have no advertisements. We're going to discuss that a little bit more later. So I have a little walkthrough here of Consumer Reports from our library's website. You can technically access Consumer Reports on your own, but you'll have full access to it through the Sussex County Library. So let me just walk you through how to do this. I also have a PDF that will be posted elsewhere that will give you all of these different visuals so you can reference them in the future if that's something you're interested in. So from the Sussex County Library System website, you're going to hover your mouse over Access Your Library, and that's going to open this screen here. From there, you're going to go to eLibrary and you're going to select Research Databases. That brings you to a new screen. And you're going to see all of these different drop-down menus on the left side. You're going to scroll down and you're going to look for General Reference and then click Consumer Reports and then click Access this database. This is going to bring you to a brand new screen. And in this patron ID area, you're going to type in your 14-digit library card number. That's what mine looks like. You just look on the back of your library card and you'll see it right under the barcode there. This will then open up a brand new page and you're going to click on consumerreports.org and you'll have access to Consumer Reports. And again, I will have all of these images in a PDF you guys can access later. So there are some really interesting features on Consumer Reports that I wanted to highlight in this talk. Some things that I think are necessary in order to navigate the site, but that I think are really, really interesting and that might really pull you in. So Consumer Reports allows you to select from an assortment of products and services. You can look up a car you might want to buy, to coffee, right? Something as simple as coffee, to a service like car insurance. You can even see right here for airlines through Consumer Reports. So you don't have to necessarily look up tangible products. You can look up different services as well. You can explore the top products that Consumer Reports recognizes, the products that are most frequently looked at, different types of products, and you can look up products from A to Z. If you just want to sift through everything that they have and look at it in alphabetical order, that's also an option. So on the top of the page, you'll see product reviews. If you hover over that, you'll see the top products. That's what we're looking at right here. You'll see different categories of products, from appliances all the way down to money. And then right there, all products A through Z. Consumer Reports also contains a news section, and this I think is really, really brilliant. This section provides up-to-date headlines on consumer and market news. And so if you click on news up top, it'll bring you to this page right here that you see on the right. So I want to back out of the PowerPoint and I want to go to Consumer Reports directly to show you guys what I am talking about. So there we are. Should bring it up in just a second. There we go. Okay, so this is what I was just showing you. This is where you'll find all those different products, top products, and then products A through Z. But I want to look at news really quickly. So if you click on news, it'll bring up all of these different headlines. And you can see these headlines are really up to date. This one was just posted on the 6th, and then these were posted on the 5th. And these are headlines that don't necessarily pertain to products you might expect, right? So this is talking about if butternut squash is good for you. If you click on this link, the author talks about the benefits of eating butternut squash, right? Different ways you can prep it. And if you go down a little further, it gives you some recipes, right? And if you're curious about who this author is, at the bottom of the page, it talks about their credentials. So, but what I wanted to show you guys was another article in the news section, this one that talks about mattresses, right? So this is a product. If you're interested in buying a mattress, right, you can go to this news article and you can see what Consumer Reports is talking about. So if you scroll down, right, it's talking a little bit about the mattresses, and then it's going to give you a list of all of these different mattresses that Consumer Reports has tested and that they recommend. So if you scroll down, you see they have a Bear Original, Beauty Rest, right, all these different mattresses. You can also click on here and it'll jump you right to the mattress. And something important to keep in mind is this little disclaimer right here. If you're curious, right, when you shop through retailer links on our site, we may earn affiliate commissions. 100% of the fees we collect are used to support our nonprofit mission. All that means is if you click on, let's say, this shop button, right, and you click through, if you decide you want to purchase this mattress from this site, part of this will go towards Consumer Reports. So part of what you spend will go towards supporting Consumer Reports. But let's say you're looking through this list and you want to learn a bit more about the mattress, right? You think this blurb is good, but you're curious about what else the mattress has to offer. If you click on the mattress itself, it will bring the Consumer Reports page on it. And this is the page that contains all the info you need to know on this particular product. So this is a really pricey mattress, but let's say it's within your budget, right? You'll get a ton of information here, including the overall score that Consumer Reports has given towards this mattress. If you hover over overall score, it'll tell you how the score is generated. So this score of 82 is based mainly on side and back sleeper support, durability, and stability. And this score is out of a score of 100, right? So 82 is pretty good. And if you scroll down further, they give you all of these nice images. What I like about Consumer Reports with their mattresses is they actually cut the mattress open to show you exactly what the mattress is made out of, which I think is important for a lot of people, especially if you're going to spend a lot on a mattress. And then if you scroll down further, you see all of this information that's available to you as the consumer that Consumer Reports provide. So right here, we have results from the consumer surveys that I talked about earlier. And you can see right here, this comfort is 5 out of 5. Now, that sounds great, sounds like a comfortable mattress, but you might be thinking, how do they get that data? Well, you'll see next to comfort is a little eye. If you hover over that eye, it'll tell you how they got that data. So comfort is based on members' average comfort rating for their mattress brand and type on a scale from excellent to very poor. So it gives you a little bit of info on how they generate this number. And apparently this is a very comfortable mattress, right? And same with owner satisfaction. Owner satisfaction is based on members' average overall satisfaction rating for their mattress brand and type on a scale from completely satisfied to completely dissatisfied. And you can see this scored a 5 out of 5. And then you have the test results. These are the tests that were conducted by Consumer Reports themselves within their own facilities. And you can see these are 5 out of 5. So let's say if you are a back sleeper, right? It gives you a 5 out of 5 score for your average back sleeper. And if you hover over, it says an average of both the petite and large scores that apply to many people. So this just gives you extra information on the mattress based on what Consumer Reports tested. It gives you the highs and the lows of the mattress. Apparently this mattress has no discernible lows, so it's a really, really good mattress. And here you have the Consumer Reports' take, basically their interpretation of the mattress, and a little more about it. And then down here, you get features and specs. This lets you know, for example, if the mattress, when it's shipped to you, if it comes in a box, and the answer is yes. And if you hover over, it'll tell you that this mattress will be delivered to your door, compressed and rolled into a box to make it more manageable. Some boxes will be approximately 42 inches tall, 20 inches wide, and 20 inches deep, and can weigh between 60 and 120 pounds. That could be really important to know, because if you think you'll be home alone and you hear that your mattress might be 120 pounds when it shows up, right? That's really heavy. So you can make arrangements and maybe have somebody around to help you bring the mattress in the house. And then extra information, dimensions, right? Does it use gel infused foam? Does it retain warmth? All those other little details. And if you scroll to the very bottom of the page, you get actual user reviews. So you can see what people said directly about this mattress. And this applies to a lot of their other products. You'll see a lot of the same info. Some products will have even more information, right? So it's a matter of exploring and seeing what different products, what different information these different products have. So let me jump back to the PowerPoint. There we go. Okay, let's see. Brought me back to the beginning. Here we are. Okay. So I also want to look a little bit at the issues that matter section, which I think is also really, really interesting. And it has one feature I'm excited to show you guys. This section you can find right next to the news section. And here users can stay up to date on important issues today. So the current issues that matter section has info on the coronavirus, car safety and efficiency, data privacy, financial fairness, food safety, and a take action section where basically you can provide information to Consumer Reports if there's anything that you really want to let them know about. So I'm going to back out again and show you guys this section, which I think is really brilliant. So you can see the news section was here, and this is issues that matter. And so if you drop down, you see coronavirus, car safety, right? There's this section on food safety that I think is really, really interesting. And I think also really applicable. I know there's been quite a few recalls lately on a lot of food. And so if you scroll down, it'll give you different headlines like this one right here: throw away unlabeled red, white, yellow onions, right? We know that this is an issue that we're currently dealing with. But, and more headlines, right? You click view more, and it will give you a bunch of other headlines if you're interested to look at those. But with this one feature on this website that I think is really interesting is this food label decoder. So I and I'm an animal lover, right? I absolutely adore animals. And well, I don't eat meat, I do eat eggs. And I want to make sure that the eggs I'm eating are coming from hens that are treated fairly, right? So you can select here what you're shopping for. In my case, it'll be eggs. And I want to make sure, for example, that my hens were not confined to small cages, right? I want to make sure that they were living and able to roam around and move about. And so what this does is it'll tell me the labels to look for on my egg. So USDA organic, certified humane, American Humane certified, and animal welfare approved are the labels I want to look for to know that my hens were living in free environments, right? If you're interested in beef, let's say, and you want to make sure that the beef you're eating was 100% grass fed, you can select those two options and it'll tell you the label to look for. And if you're curious to know more about this label, you can click on it and it'll tell you some information on it. So here are the benefits of shopping with this label. There's no limitations, and it gives you a general overview. And then this basically breaks down what you've read about up here. So if you are like me, or you want to become a more conscientious eater, that might be an interesting section to look at. Let me jump back to the PowerPoint. Okay. So what is some other information that you guys should know as you are using consumer reports? We're going to loop back around and talk about advertisements really quickly. Yes, it is true. Consumer reports does not rely on advertisements. As you go throughout the website, you will not see an ad anywhere. You might be thinking, how is that the case, right? It seems like every website these days uses ads. How can consumer reports not rely on advertisements? Well, they make their money from user subscriptions, grants, and donations. So they use the money that are given to them by people who support their mission. And why is this significant? Advertisements often rely on a lack of transparency to push messages and obtain user data. And like I mentioned before, right, advertisers can incentivize a company to shape their message to fit what the advertiser wants, not necessarily what the user wants. I mentioned earlier, if you're looking for a washing machine, right, and you go to a website that might be advertised on by a company that makes washing machines, that website might want to speak highly then about that company. You don't have to worry about that with consumer reports, however. Consumer reports also does not rely on shareholders. So this means that nobody owns shares in their stock. And shareholders, like advertisers, also hold significant sway over a company's mission. And as they mention on their website, the consumer should enjoy the full context of our information and not hear about our ratings and reports through the language of salesmanship. So you'll never feel as if an item is being sold to you when you're using consumer reports. Another thing that's really important to know is that it can be possible that consumer reports will not be testing products at any given time. So you can see on the screen right now, it appears that baby monitors are currently not being tested for whatever reason. And this appears in that gray bar on the top of the page when you click on baby monitors. So you'll also know as you're looking for different products and services that the information they have may not be totally up to date at any given time. But again, you will be informed about that. Some products will also require a personal login to pursue extra information after a certain point. So for example, and I tend to have seen this with cars, right? If you want to look up the local inventory of a car, let's say you wound up getting to this car and you are really convinced by it, you really want to buy it, right? And you want to see if any local inventory is carrying this car. If you click on that button there, it'll then bring you to a new screen that'll prompt you to make your own personal login. So remember, when you're looking at consumer reports, you'll be doing it through the Sussex County Library system. But if you want to look at local inventory, for example, you're going to be stepping outside of the purview of the library. So you'll have to make your own account from that point onward. Products can also be easily compared to one another with the Consumer Reports Compare feature. I know the screen is a little small, but I just kind of wanted to show you here what I mean by the Compare feature. So let's say you're looking at these different products and you want to compare 3 of them, right? There's a little icon next to it with a little plus button, and if you hover over it, it'll say Add to Compare. So if you click on that, it'll open this drop-down menu. And if you click View Compare, it'll then give you an entire page with, oops, this was supposed to scroll. Sorry about that. Let me fix that really quickly. There we go. It will give you a movable page right there where you can basically scroll through and look at the differences between the 3 products that you want to compare. So if you're in a sort of deadlock between 3 different products, 4 different products that you're interested in, you can go to the compare feature and look at everything side by side. And then to wrap up our talk, I want to talk about the My Benefits or digital membership section. So with your library account, you get access to My Benefits. And I'm going to go through some of the features found here. Best time to buy, I think, is one of the best features on this website. It provides an interactable calendar that lets users explore which items are ideal to buy throughout the year. So if you look at the calendar right now, it'll show you products that are on steep discount right now in November. And then you have access to 2 other features. One is the car recall tracker, where you can input your car's make, model, and year to see if you have any outstanding recalls. For example, you typically get notice of recalls through the mail. Maybe you lost the letter and you don't know what the recall is for. You can go right to this website, right to My Benefits, put in your car's info, and it'll tell you if you have any recalls. And then another is the TV screen optimizer, in which you can insert your TV's brand and model number to see how to optimize your television. For example, you can improve the quality of the sound or the picture by using that feature. And I want to jump really quickly reports just to show you right before we end, because I know I'm running out of time. I want to show you the My Benefits feature really quick and just look at that calendar. One more second. Let's see. There we go. So you go to My Benefits, you click on Best Time to Buy, and it will open up this really great interactable calendar. Let's see. Okay, so you see all of these bigger images, right, that are standing out. These are products that you want to buy right now. And as it says right here, the holiday shopping season kicks off in November with the biggest discounts coming on Black Friday and Cyber Monday. And these are 46 products on deep discount in November. So if you are looking to buy a new dryer or maybe some new cookware, you finally need new cookware and you decide now's the time to buy it, you can click on this and you can scroll through and see all of the different cookware that's available. You can also click on See All Cookware Sets, and it'll bring you to this really long list of 26 different results that you can look at, and you can look at all of the different ratings. And this is also a great little feature I want to show right before we end. This is Consumer Reports Recommended. If you click on this, it'll narrow down the results to the top results that Consumer Reports suggests. So you go from 26 to 9, which makes it a lot more manageable. And then you click on the product, and just like with the mattress, right, you scroll down, you see the different test results here, the highs and the lows, what Consumer Reports has to say about the product, as well as in this case, right, it's giving you different results from the tests that they conducted. And then features and specs, where you can buy the product, and down here you get user reviews. So Consumer Reports really has a lot to offer, and I think it's especially useful right now if we think about how holiday season is right around the corner. So in conclusion, Consumer Reports is a really fantastic resource that's available to you as a patron of the Sussex County Library System. And it's available to inform and empower you, the consumer, to better understand the value of a product, the usefulness and efficiency of a product, as well as what other consumers think about a product, all from an unbiased consumer-driven perspective. Thank you all so much for your time today.